Alright, I'm going to be straight with you from the beginning of this video. Limited atonement is the point of the tulip that even people who call themselves 4-point Calvinists, they reject. It is one that generates the most pushback, the most discomfort, and the most heat even within Reformed circles. So if you came into this video already skeptical, look, I understand. I was too. And I'm not going to ask you to just accept it because the confession says so. What I'm going to do is walk you through what it actually teaches, why the Reformed tradition holds it, and what the Bible actually says. Alright? And then I'll just let you sit with it honestly and to ponder upon the things. Okay, first, the name. Limited atonement. Limited atonement is actually the least helpful name for this doctrine. And a lot of Reformed theologians actually prefer a different term. And that term is particular redemption. Now, that term gets closer to what the doctrine is actually claiming. The claim is not that the atonement is limited in its power or value. The claim is that it is particular in its design, meaning Christ's atoning work on the cross was specifically and intentionally designed to secure the salvation of the elect, not to make salvation possible for everyone theoretically. Right? It was to actually, effectually, definitively purchase salvation for a specific people. Now, the alternative view, the one most evangelical Christian holds, is that Christ died for every person who has ever lived, making salvation available to all, with whether any individual benefits depending on whether they believe. Now here's the thing. The question that drives the Reformed response is this. If Christ died for every person who has ever lived, right? If some of those people are in hell, then what exactly did the atonement accomplish for them? Did Christ pay for the sins that still are going to be punished? Did he purchase redemption that was never applied? The Reformed tradition says that creates a serious problem, not just theologically, but in terms of what the cross actually is. If the atonement is a payment, you cannot pay a debt and then still demand the debt to be paid again. He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Isaiah 53:11 says, he shall justify the many. He shall bear their iniquities, and he shall be satisfied. Now think about it this way. The language of Isaiah 53 is not a language of possibility. It is a language of accomplishment. Right? The servant bears, and as a result, the many are justified. The connection is not conditional. It is definitive. Like this, I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known by my own. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. John 10:14 and 15 says, for the sheep, not for every person who might potentially become a sheep. It says for the sheep, the specific, known, particular people the shepherd is laying down his life for. Now, the Reformed reading of this passage is not a creative interpretation. It is the plain reading of the pronoun. Now, here's the thing I want to make sure is clear. Particular redemption does not mean that the gospel is only offered to certain people. It does not mean you look at someone and think, Christ probably didn't die for you. Right? The gospel should be proclaimed to every person without exception. Right? That offer should be genuine. It says, whoever believes will not perish. Right? The real offer is to everyone who hears it. The particularity is in what the cross definitively accomplished, not in how the gospel is extended. And they sang a new song saying, you are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seal. For you are slain, and have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. Now Revelation 5:9 says, purchased with his blood from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. Right? The cross does not just make a purchase theoretically available. It actually purchases. And the scope of that purchase, every tongue, every people, every nation, right? That is gloriously wide. It's not to every individual person who was ever born, but people from every people group. Now, the election drawn from every corner of humanity. Now, that's a breathtaking picture, right? It's not just limited. So now, does this doctrine make you uncomfortable? Good. Sit with it. Bring it to the Bible. The Reformed tradition has never asked anyone to accept this on authority without examination. Examine it, and as you do, make sure you also go back and watch our previous video on conditional election. God chooses you before you chose him. Now, because the connection between the election and atonement is the thread that holds this whole discussion together. Now, in our next video, we'll cover irresistible grace. And this is the one that brings everything we have been building together in a way that I think is going to hit you personally in the best possible way. I'll see you there.